The sea has always been full of mysteries. Sailors have told stories for centuries about strange lights, ghost ships, and crews who vanished without a trace. But among all these tales, one story stands above the rest: the mystery of the Mary Celeste. It is a story of a ship found drifting alone in the vast Atlantic Ocean in 1872, her sails torn and flapping in the wind, her decks silent, and her crew gone as if they had melted into thin air. There were no signs of a fight, no sign of a storm, and no clue to explain what had happened. The ship was perfectly fine, except for one thing: not a single person remained on board. The Mary Celeste was not a new ship. She had been built in Nova Scotia, Canada, in 1861 and was first named Amazon. She had survived a few accidents and changes of ownership before being repaired and renamed Mary Celeste in 1869. She was about 100 feet long and had 2 masts, a sturdy, fast vessel meant to carry cargo across the Atlantic Ocean. In November 1872, the Mary Celeste prepared for what should have been a routine voyage. Her captain was Benjamin Spooner Briggs, a man known for his skill, honesty, and calm nature. He was 37 years old, deeply religious, and a devoted husband and father. This time, he decided not to go alone. He brought with him his wife, Sarah, and their 2-year-old daughter, Sophia. The rest of the crew included 7 experienced sailors, men chosen carefully for their good character and skill. The ship's cargo consisted of 1,101 barrels of industrial alcohol, meant to be delivered to Genoa, Italy. The alcohol was not for drinking; it was used in factories and industry. Everything was properly loaded and recorded. On November 7, 1872, the Mary Celeste sailed out of New York Harbor, its white sails catching the cold Atlantic wind. Just a week later, another ship called the Dei Gratia, commanded by Captain David Morehouse, also left New York. Coincidentally, Morehouse knew Captain Briggs personally. The 2 men had shared dinners together before the voyage, and both trusted each other's seamanship. No one could have imagined that their fates would soon become tied together in one of the sea's greatest mysteries. On December 4, 1872, nearly a month after leaving New York, the Dei Gratia was crossing the Atlantic about 400 miles east of the Azores Islands. The weather was calm, the skies were clear, and the crew kept a steady watch. Then, in the distance, a strange sight appeared. A ship drifting slowly through the waves, sails half set, moving oddly, as though no one was steering her. Captain Morehouse lifted his spyglass and studied the mysterious vessel. The ship looked familiar. He soon realized it was the Mary Celeste. But something was clearly wrong. There were no crew members on deck, no flags flying, and no signal of distress. The ship seemed deserted. Morehouse ordered a small boat to be lowered, and several of his men rowed across the waves toward the drifting vessel. When they climbed aboard, they found one of the strangest scenes in maritime history. The deck was silent. The men called out, but no one answered. The captain's cabin was tidy, with personal items still in place, clothes neatly folded, toys belonging to the little girl still lying on a bed. The food storage room was full, and there was enough water to last for months. The ship's cargo, those barrels of alcohol, was untouched, except for 9 barrels that were found to be empty. The logbook, which kept the record of the voyage, showed its last entry on November 25th, when the ship was near the Azores. There was some water in the lower part of the ship, but it wasn't enough to be dangerous. The hull was strong, the sails were damaged but repairable, and nothing suggested a fight or panic. However, the ship's only lifeboat was missing, along with a few navigational tools, such as the sextant and chronometer. It looked as if the people on board had left in a hurry, yet carefully enough to take some supplies and instruments. But why would they leave a safe ship in the middle of the ocean? The men from the Dei Gratia searched every corner of the Mary Celeste, hoping to find a clue, a note, a sign of damage, anything that might explain what had happened. But there was nothing. It was as if the entire crew had simply vanished into thin air. Captain Morehouse made a difficult decision. He ordered part of his crew to sail the Mary Celeste, while he continued to command the Dei Gratia. The two ships set course for Gibraltar, a British port at the entrance to the Mediterranean. Sailing a ship with a reduced crew was risky, but they managed to bring both safely to harbor. When the Mary Celeste arrived in Gibraltar, the news spread quickly. A ship found adrift, fully supplied but with no one aboard. It sounded like a ghost story come to life. Newspapers in Europe and America began to write about it, and soon the Mary Celeste became famous as the ghost ship of the Atlantic. British officials in Gibraltar started a formal investigation. The man in charge was Attorney General Frederick Solly Flood, a serious and suspicious man. He examined the ship carefully and interviewed the Dei Gratia's crew. Solly Flood didn't believe in mysteries. He thought there must be a crime behind it, maybe murder or piracy. At first, he suspected that Captain Morehouse and his men had attacked the Mary Celeste to steal her cargo and then pretended to find her abandoned. But that theory didn't hold up. There were no signs of violence, no blood, and nothing stolen. The cargo was still mostly there, and even the captain's valuables were untouched. Still, Solly Flood continued searching for answers. He noticed the 9 empty barrels and thought that the alcohol inside might have leaked and caused dangerous fumes. But he could not prove it. In the end, he found no crime. But the case remained open, full of unanswered questions. The men of the Dei Gratia eventually received a small reward for saving the ship, but it was much less than they expected. The British court still doubted their innocence, even though nothing connected them to any wrongdoing. As the years passed, people all over the world came up with theories to explain the mystery of the Mary Celeste. Some were reasonable, and some were pure fantasy. One theory suggested that pirates had attacked the ship, but pirates would have taken valuables, and nothing had been stolen. Another theory said that a seaquake or a sudden underwater earthquake might have shaken the ship, frightening the crew into thinking it would sink. They could have escaped into the lifeboat, only to drift away and die at sea. A more likely idea was that fumes from the alcohol cargo escaped from the leaking barrels. Alcohol fumes are highly flammable, and even a small spark could cause an explosion. Perhaps there was a loud whoosh sound, enough to make Captain Briggs think the ship was about to explode. He might have ordered everyone into the lifeboat temporarily, planning to return once it was safe. But then, the wind or current could have carried the lifeboat away, leaving the Mary Celeste empty forever. Other people suggested mutiny, poisoning, or even sea monsters. As time went on, the mystery took on a life of its own. Some newspapers invented dramatic details to make the story more exciting. Stories of blood on the deck, knife fights, or ghostly apparitions. None of these stories were true, but they made the legend of the Mary Celeste grow even bigger. After the investigation, the Mary Celeste was repaired and returned to service. But she never escaped her unlucky reputation. Sailors began to believe she was cursed. Many refused to work on her, saying she brought bad luck. For years, the ship continued to sail, changing owners several times. In 1885, her final captain tried to make money by scuttling her on purpose, running her onto a reef near Haiti to claim insurance money. The plan failed, and the Mary Celeste was wrecked beyond repair. The once proud ship was left to rot, her remains slowly claimed by the sea she had haunted for so long. Even after her end, the Mary Celeste's story refused to die. In 1884, a young writer named Arthur Conan Doyle, who would later become famous for creating Sherlock Holmes, wrote a short story inspired by the event. He called the ship the Mary Celeste and added ghostly details that never happened in real life. His story was so popular that many people believed it was true, and that's why so many still call the ship by the wrong name today. Over the decades, the tale of the Mary Celeste became part of popular culture. She appeared in books, films, and documentaries. Every generation came up with new ideas to explain what might have happened. Scientists, historians, and even detectives have all tried to solve the puzzle. Yet none have found a definite answer. Today, the most accepted explanation is the alcohol fume theory. Tests have shown that fumes from industrial alcohol can leak and create invisible clouds of gas. These fumes can cause a loud boom without fire, just enough to scare people into thinking the ship is about to explode. Captain Briggs, cautious and responsible, might have ordered everyone to leave the ship temporarily for safety. He could have tied the lifeboat to the Mary Celeste with a rope, planning to return soon. But if the rope broke or came loose, the wind would carry the lifeboat far away, leaving the Mary Celeste empty. This theory fits the facts. No damage, no fire, no violence, just fear and tragic bad luck. The Mary Celeste is gone, but her story still travels the world. She has become a symbol of the sea's mystery and power. Whenever a ship is found drifting without its crew, people remember her. Even today, her name is used as a metaphor for something left abandoned without reason. What makes the story so haunting is its humanity. On board that ship were real people: a father, a mother, a little girl, and 7 sailors who vanished without a trace. They were not ghosts or characters from a legend. They were a small group of ordinary people caught in extraordinary circumstances. We may never know exactly what happened to them. The ocean keeps its secrets well. But the story of the Mary Celeste reminds us that even in our modern world, some mysteries remain beyond our understanding. The sea, vast and deep, still whispers their story in the sound of the waves and the creak of old wooden ships lost to time. The mystery of the Mary Celeste is more than just a story about an abandoned ship. It is a story about fear, the unknown, and the dangers of the sea. It has everything: a brave captain, a loving family, a loyal crew, a ghost ship, and a mystery that no one has ever solved. Perhaps one day evidence will appear that explains what really happened. But until then, the Mary Celeste will continue to sail through our imaginations, a lonely vessel drifting forever through the fog of history, a true ghost ship of the Atlantic,